Salut tout le monde et bienvenue au Balado, le podcast Avant-Match. Mon nom est Joey Alfieri. On est de retour après une semaine de congé. Les joueurs aussi étaient en congé, évidemment. C'est pour ça qu'on a pris une chance, puis une couple de signatures, mais pas vraiment de grosses nouvelles qui sont sorties pendant la semaine de congé. Donc, on a profité pour prendre des petites vacances en famille. What's up, everybody? Joey Alfieri on the Pregame podcast, getting you ready for Alouettes and Roughriders from Montreal at Percival Molson Stadium on Thursday night at 7:30. We're back after a week off, bye week, so we took advantage, had little family holidays, and now we're back and ready to go until the next bye week, which I think is the end of August, end of August, beginning of September, if I'm not mistaken, because the Alouettes don't play Labor Day this year because of Touchdown Pacific. So the Alouettes would typically play Labor Day. They got BC or Ottawa every once in a while. So, that's the next time the Alouettes are going to have a bye week. So that'll be something to look forward to as well. But there's a lot of racetrack to go before that second bye week comes up. And we'll run through all the latest news and notes. There is a lot going into this game. Obviously, with it was all quiet on the Alouettes front last week. Couple signings with Nate Barr and Bryce Notary, but other than that, not a ton was announced. And so there's always just coming out of games injuries and stuff, and so there's a lot of big injuries. We'll get to it over the course of the next little while. Here we have a special interview with Alouettes alum Andrew Hawkins, who went on to play a little while in the NFL as well, had a really great career down south, now on TV at ESPN. He actually came to practice this week. I took the opportunity to speak to him for a few minutes. He had a killer Anthony Calvillo story that you're going to want to hear. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We also start the podcast in French as always, and then we move over to English. So we'll get some different news and notes. So if you're bilingual or you're just trying to learn, I will speak as slowly as I possibly can. And I learn something new in French and English every day, so don't worry about that. On commence en français. Je l'ai mentionné en anglais rapidement. Notre entrevue cette semaine, c'est avec Andrew Hawkins, l'ancien receveur qui portait le numéro 0 avec les Alouettes. Il a gagné une Coupe Grey en 2009 et 2010. Toute une carrière dans la NFL et maintenant, il travaille pour ESPN en tant qu'analyste de football. Donc, c'est rendu encore plus grosse vedette maintenant que pendant sa carrière de joueur. C'est fou. Il est vraiment un très bon analyste. J'apprécie énormément ce qu'il fait à la télévision. Donc, on va parler à Andrew Hawkins momentanément. Je vous dis, là, l'histoire qu'il raconte sur Anthony Calvillo est mourant. Là, c'était tellement drôle, j'étais crampé quand j'ai entendu l'histoire qu'il a racontée. On va écouter ça dans une couple de minutes, mais on veut faire on veut mettre la table au match ici contre les Rough Riders jeudi soir. On est en train d'enregistrer ça mercredi après-midi. On est à 3h moins 10 en ce moment, donc toutes les nouvelles sont sorties plus tôt ce matin. La charte des positions est sortie pour ce match-là. Donc, évidemment, la plus grosse nouvelle, le corps arrière partant, Cody Fajardo, ne jouera pas, ne sera pas de la rencontre. Il a été placé sur la liste des blessés des 6 matchs plus tôt aujourd'hui. Même chose pour le receveur Keon Julian Grant. Écoute, avant qu'on passe à l'analyse et qui doit stepper up, c'est Caleb Evans qui va être le carrière partant, mais la liste des blessés de 6 matchs, le monde pense, je sais que la convention collective n'est pas hyper claire, elle n'est pas disponible en ligne. Donc, c'est difficile de savoir tous les règlements euh, liés au cap salarial et tout ça. Mais je vais vous expliquer très rapidement la liste des blessés de 6 matchs, ce que c'est. Donc, en fait, si tu penses que si tu as un joueur blessé, tu peux placer n'importe quel joueur blessé sur la liste des blessés de 6 matchs. Ça ne veut pas nécessairement dire qu'il va rater 6 matchs. Donc, il peut en rater 1, 2, 3, 4, même 5. Mais si on place un joueur sur la liste des blessés des 6 matchs, son salaire ne compte pas sur la masse salariale pendant 6 semaines. Ces 6 semaines-là. S'il rate les 6 matchs. Si jamais il rate 2 ou 3 matchs, mais qu'on le ramène avant, il revient en santé avant les 6 matchs et qu'on le ramène dans l'effectif, là, tout, tu sais, mettons que Fajardo manque, je sais pas, j'ai aucune idée combien de games il va manquer, mais mettons, il manque 3 games. Donc, pour ces 3 games-là, son salaire ne compte pas sur le cap. Mais si on l'enlève de la liste des blessés de 6 matchs, le crédit qu'on a eu pour ces 3 semaines-là, mais euh, c'est plus un crédit, c'est comme s'il était sur la liste des blessés d'une game. Donc, si tu es sur la liste des blessés de 6 matchs et que tu manques les 6 matchs, ton salaire ne compte pas sur la masse salariale. Si tu manques moins que 6 matchs, mais là, ton salaire va compter sur la masse salariale, même quand tu ne joues pas. Si tu es sur la liste des blessés d'un match, ton salaire compte sur la masse salariale. Donc, c'est pour ça que même si des fois, il y a des gars qui vont manquer peut-être 3, 4 semaines, on les place sur la liste de blessés des 6 matchs parce que juste au cas où que ça prend un peu plus longtemps, on veut ce crédit sur la masse salariale. On veut sauver un peu d'argent sur la masse salariale. Le joueur est quand même payé par l'équipe, mais c'est juste que sur la masse salariale, qui est quand même relativement petite, pour 45 joueurs plus joueurs blessés, je pense que c'est à 5,5 millions, si je ne me trompe pas, on veut avoir ce crédit-là. Donc, c'est ça. La liste des blessés de 6 matchs. Donc, quand vous voyez Fajardo et Julian Grant sur la liste des blessés de 6 matchs, c'est pas nécessairement qu'ils vont manquer 6 matchs, c'est plus le fait que c'est possible qu'il en manque 6 et on veut le crédit sur la masse salariale s'il en manque 6. Tu sais, dans le cas des 2 joueurs, ces 2 joueurs étoiles, si ça leur prend 2 semaines guérir les bobos, là, c'est sûr j'imagine qu'on va les ramener plus tôt s'ils sont en santé. Et donc, il n'y aura pas de crédit sur la masse salariale. Mais je vais juste vous dire que c'est ça la différence entre six games injured puis la liste des blessés d'un match. Donc, si tu rates les 6 matchs et que tu es sur la liste des blessés pour 6 matchs, là, ton salaire ne compte pas sur la masse salariale. Mais pas obligé, si on te place sur cette liste-là, pas obligé de manquer 6 games. OK, j'espère que c'est clair. Euh, donc, c'est sûr qu'avec Caleb Evans, euh, je ne veux même pas dire que ça a été difficile à certains moments contre Toronto, mais tu sais, il y a une couple de choses et j'ai reçu plein de messages que, tu sais, et je trouve ça dommage. Tu sais, je trouve ça épouvantable. Caleb Evans a joué, il vient d'avoir 26 ans. Il a joué 2 matchs l'an passé. Il a gagné ses 2 matchs pour les Alouettes. Euh, Il a battu la Saskatchewan, puis il a gagné. Il a battu Ottawa, le rouge et noir, là-bas à Ottawa. Là, tu sais, en fin de match, il reste moins de 3 minutes. Les Alouettes tirent de l'arrière. Ça prend un toucher pour gagner à Ottawa. Puis Caleb Evans est capable de mener son équipe à la victoire. Il marque un toucher avec 13-14 secondes à faire et les Alouettes gagnent sur la route. Donc, tu sais, Caleb Evans est un corps arrière jeune. Il est différent de Cody Fajardo et Davis Alexander. Mais moi, je trouve qu'il y a une amélioration dans son jeu. Tu sais, depuis qu'il est recru dans la Ligue avec Ottawa puis qu'il est arrivé à Montréal au début de l'année passée, tu sais, je trouve qu'il y a une amélioration qui s'est faite là. Donc, tu sais, je ne comprends pas pourquoi il y a beaucoup de partisans qui veulent voir Davis Alexander. Et ça, je le comprends parce que moi aussi, j'aime bien Davis Alexander. Moi, j'aime bien les corps arrière que les Alouettes ont ici. James Morgan aussi, qui est là. Euh, mais tu peux aimer Davis Alexander sans insulter les capacités de Caleb Evans. Parce que moi, écoute, Caleb Evans, je le trouve très compétent en tant que carrière et je trouve que, tu sais, il est encore jeune et il a une chance d'être un carrière partant. Je dirais la même chose pour Davis Alexander. Donc, on va voir ce que ça donne. C'est sûr que si Fajardo manque plus qu'un match, il y a des chances qu'on va voir plusieurs, tu sais, des différents carrières jouer. Mais on ne sait pas. Pour le moment, on sait que c'est Caleb Evans qui va jouer et que l'an passé, il a quand même bien joué. Il a connu un très bon camp d'entraînement. Et ce qu'il faut, tu sais, il faut se souvenir, euh, lors du dernier match, tu sais, c'est 2 matchs en 5 jours. Ce qui veut dire que les Alouettes ont pratiqué une fois avant de jouer contre les Argos. Ce qui veut dire qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de répétitions pendant une semaine de pratique quand tu as une pratique. Donc, Fajardo était en santé avant, tu sais, c'était avant le match contre Toronto. Donc, c'est lui qui a pris toutes les répétitions. Le corps arrière substitut ne prend pas beaucoup de répétitions dans une semaine normale. Donc, imaginez-vous une semaine extrêmement courte quand on pratique une fois. Donc, oui, c'est sûr que c'est un professionnel, mais il y a quand même, à certains moments, oui, je sais qu'il y avait deux interceptions, mais à certains moments, il y avait des belles passes aussi. Tu sais, il y a des beaux jeux. C'est un gars qui peut courir aussi, il peut faire il peut décocher des bonnes passes. Donc, il y avait des hauts, il y avait des bas, ce qui est tout à fait normal pour un gars qui n'a pas joué depuis le début de l'année et pour un gars qui n'a quasiment pas eu de répétition de la semaine. Donc, moi, ce que je vous dis, c'est donnez-lui une chance. Si jamais il ne joue pas bien, on peut critiquer les performances après une semaine comme ça. Ce que je vais vous dire, parce que j'étais en vacances la semaine passée, comme j'ai mentionné. J'ai manqué la pratique de dimanche, mais j'ai vu les pratiques de lundi et mardi cette semaine. Et Caleb Evans était on point, là, comme on dit en anglais. Il était très, très fort lors des pratiques. Tu sais, j'ai vu, il a décoché des belles passes. On a complété des belles passes à Philpott, à Speaker. Écoute, et on sait que la défensive des Alouettes, elle est très bonne. Donc, tu sais, il affronte quand même une bonne défensive lors des pratiques. Là, je sais que séance d'entraînement, un match, c'est pas la même chose. Mais moi, je fais juste vous dire les faits. Et les faits, c'est que il a connu une très bonne semaine de pratique et j'ai vraiment hâte de voir ce que ça va donner contre les Rough Riders parce que, écoute, encore une fois, les Alouettes sont premiers dans la division Est avec 5 victoires, une défaite. Les Riders sont en première position dans la division Ouest, 5 victoires, une défaite. Les deux équipes ont des très, très bonnes défensives. L'entraîneur-chef à Saskatchewan, c'est Corey Mace, qui était le coordonnateur défensif avec les Argonauts l'année dernière. Et on sait que les Argos ont connu beaucoup, beaucoup, beaucoup de succès euh, l'an passé en défensive, mais en tous les facettes du jeu. Ils avaient une fiche de 16-2. Euh, donc, Corey Mace, on voit ce qu'il a été en mesure de faire déjà avec cette équipe-là. Donc, non, moi, j'ai hâte de voir. Je pense pas, tu sais, je pense que ça va être un match défensif, mais pas un match défensif style NFL qui finit 9-6, 6-3, 10-9. Tu sais, ça va être moi, selon moi, je pense que ça va être moi, je vois un 23-17, 24-20. Tu sais, pour moi, ça, c'est un match défensif dans la Ligue canadienne de football. Donc, c'est Caleb Evans qui sera le partant pour les Alouettes au poste de quart. Et Keon Julian Grant va être remplacé dans l'alignement partant par Shedler Furvius, qui est un joueur de deuxième saison. Il a sa deuxième saison pro dans la Ligue canadienne de football. Un autre Canadien, un ancien de St. Mary's qui a été repêché en cinquième ronde par Montréal. Euh, oui, OK. C'est pas juste des mauvaises nouvelles. C'est là, c'est ça, exactement. Je voulais faire la transition vers des bonnes nouvelles. La tertiaire, qui a été quand même assez solide cette saison, elle va être encore plus solide. Nafis Lyon, qui a été le partant au poste de demi de coin côté court du terrain cette saison, euh, il est sur la liste des blessés d'un match, ce qui veut dire qu'il y a des changements qui vont se faire dans la tertiaire, mais c'est Wesley Sutton qui va prendre la place de Deontay Ruffin. Deontay Ruffin va remplacer Lyon au poste de demi-coin. Wes Sutton, a été dans les 2 dernières saisons, a été sélectionné comme sur l'équipe d'étoiles de la division Est au poste de demi-défensif. Euh, il est de retour. Il s'est blessé lors de la première semaine du camp d'entraînement. Et là, finalement, lui, il a été sur la liste des blessés des 6 matchs. Il a raté les 6 matchs. C'est le septième match de la saison. Donc, il est admissible à un retour et il est en santé. Donc, ça fait une couple de semaines qu'il pratique avec le groupe. Aussi, Marc-Antoine Dequoy fait son retour. Lui, qui a raté la dernière rencontre contre les Argos avec une blessure à l'épaule. Écoute, je pense pas que j'ai à expliquer son importance sur l'unité défensive. Tu sais, c'est le meilleur maraudeur de la Ligue. C'était le meilleur Canadien de la division Est l'an passé. Tu sais, je pense qu'on connaît ce que Marc-Antoine Dequoy amène à cette unité défensive. Pas trop besoin d'expliquer. Je pense quand même que pas la semaine passée, mais le dernier match, c'est Bryce Cosby puis Najee Murray ont quand même fait du bon boulot. Mais c'est jamais. C'est des demi-défensifs. C'est pas des gars qui ont l'habitude de jouer au poste de maraudeur. Et encore une fois, comme avec Fajardo et Evans, ces joueurs-là n'ont pas beaucoup de répétitions quand tu as une vedette comme Marc-Antoine, un All-Star comme Marc-Antoine qui joue au poste de maraudeur. On ne veut pas l'enlever lors des pratiques. On veut qu'il soit prêt pour les matchs. Donc, ces gars-là ont quand même bien fait, je trouve. Mais Marc-Antoine de quoi, c'est sûr que ça va faire du bien. Il est de retour. Côté Rough Riders, c'est Shea Patterson qui va être le carrière partant parce que ça fait plusieurs semaines que Trevor Harris s'est blessé. Harris et Patterson, évidemment, ces deux anciens carrières des Alouettes. Patterson était là en 2021. Il n'a pas vraiment joué beaucoup. C'était plus un spécialiste faux filade du corps. Harris, évidemment, on le sait qu'il a quand même joué. Il a joué dans des matchs de playoff. Il a gagné un match de playoff aussi. Euh, mais exactement, c'est ça. Donc, on verra ce que ça va donner. Mais c'est chez Patterson qui est quand même un corps assez mobile, corps assez jeune. Et je pense que Marc-Antoine Dequoy en a parlé lors de son point de presse cette semaine. Il a dit, tu sais, son style de jeu ressemble beaucoup à Cameron Dukes, le quart des Argos. Ils sont mobiles, peuvent décocher des passes aussi, mais c'est leur force, c'est de faire des jeux avec leurs jambes. Puis le challenge que la défensive des Alouettes va avoir cette semaine, c'est qu'il va falloir freiner un corps arrière quand même assez mobile. AJ Wallet, le porteur de ballon, l'ancien encore une fois des Argos, qui a signé avec les Rough Riders pendant la saison morte. Il est blessé, ne jouera pas. Le bloqueur à droite, Jamarcus Hardrick, ne jouera pas non plus. Et le receveur canadien, Kian Schaefer-Baker, ne sera pas dans l'uniforme non plus. Donc, ça, c'est tous les notes d'avant-match que vous avez besoin. J'aimerais passer en anglais avec mon entrevue avec Andrew Hawkins, l'ancien receveur des Alouettes. So we're going to move to English now. We've hit some news and notes in and around the CFL with the Rough Riders and Alouettes matchup. But I had an opportunity, was surprised this week when I saw that Andrew Hawkins was coming to practice. Hadn't seen him in a long time since his playing days here in Montreal. Obviously, we know that he has an interesting story. Andrew Hawkins played receiver. He's a little guy, about 5'7", speedster, good hands. Played at the University of Toledo. After Toledo, I remember he went on a football show called Fourth and Long, where basically the winner of the competition would get an NFL tryout. He finished second, so didn't get the NFL tryout, but was discovered by Jim Pop, came to the CFL, played really well. Wasn't necessarily a star by any means, spent a good amount of time on the practice roster, which is crazy because the Alouettes just goes to show how stacked the Alouettes were back then. And then got an opportunity in the NFL and never came back to Canada because he did that well in the NFL with the Bengals and the Browns. He played very, very well. He was a really productive player. And I didn't realize that his former teammates with Alouettes assistant defensive back coach Chandler Jones, who was also a receiver for the Alouettes, just not at the same time, but they were together. They were teammates in Cleveland. So Hawkins came to town. And hit up his old Cleveland Browns teammate, told him that they had a practice, and that's how Andrew Hawkins ended up at Alouettes practice. Did get to speak to him for a little while, and here's that interview with former Alouettes receiver turned ESPN analyst Andrew Hawkins. Enjoy. Just what are you doing in Montreal?
Just here for a visit, man. This is my first time back, I think, in over 10 years. My kids have never left the United States, so for the first trip, I said, I got to take you to Montreal and show you the most beautiful city in North America. So we've been here a couple of days, and while we were out here, Chandler, who is one of my former rookies when I played for the Browns, is the receiver coach, hit him up and said, hey, can I come to practice? He set it up, and here I am, man.
Yeah, so what did you miss most about Montreal? You talked about how beautiful it is, but what did you miss most about it?
I think the personality of the city, and I'm not just saying this for this interview. It is by far my favorite city I've ever lived in. just the spirit of the city. Obviously, the Owls of my time here, very fond of that. But just, again, as a young player that was coming in and trying to learn professional football, the teammates that I had, the incredible first-class organization, it teed me up for my NFL career. And I honestly believe this. I would have not had the success I had in the NFL or even made it had I not had my first stop in Montreal, both in life and on the field.
You have a really, if I remember correctly, I remember watching the TV show you were on.
Yep,
you earned an NFL shot. Then you came up here, did really well up here. You flashed real well, and then you went to the NFL. But how much in what ways did the CFL help you?
I think in every way. So when you're playing professional football, especially transitioning from college, the biggest thing is learning how to play against other grown professionals who were feeding their family and the way you go about your business. And when I was able to come here, I was on a team full of Hall of Famers. Me, Chad Owens, S.J. Green were on the practice squad behind players like, Kerry Watkins, Jamil Richardson, Ben Cahoon, Anthony Cavillo, right? And so you got to come here. LaFleur, the list goes on and on. But you get to come here and see how professionals do their business. And so for me as a young player who had a lot of talent but didn't understand what it took to be a pro yet, learning under Mark Trestman around those players, when I finally got my first opportunity in the NFL after leaving Montreal, it was very apparent that technically I was a rookie, but you could see right away that I knew how to go about my business. And it was my value proposition to coaches down there, and it's why I played almost immediately and had an incredible impact, more of an impact in the NFL than I had in the CFL, because I was able to take that professionalism into a spot that they didn't expect it.
Do you think the CFL is kind of misunderstood down south? Like, how do people view the CFL?
No question, it's absolutely misunderstood. I don't think they understand how hard it is to play and make a roster here, especially for young players. So in the NFL, it's like backwards. Like you're picked off potential. Yeah. So if you're a young player who's fast, you don't really know the things, you're typically the cheaper option, and they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. In the CFL, it's a lot different. You have to beat out perennial professionals. Like I said, these are guys that they value skill here more than anything else. And if you've played in the NFL a long time and a guy like Kerry Watkins or a G. Roy Simon, who was my cousin, a young player is not going to be able to beat them out because of the nuances of the game here. And so it's really, really hard to beat those guys out and get playing time. That is the part that is misconstrued down south, which is why you see so many guys after their NFL career think they're going to come up here and play right away or make a roster. And no matter how good they are, whether that's my guy Ocho Cinco or Johnny Manziel, like they come in and like, oh snap, like this is not what I thought it was.
Your favorite memory from playing here, the playing days? It doesn't have to be a playing moment. It could just be around the guys or whatever, but just what stands out when you think of that time?
I think all of those years, man. I think like the camaraderie we built for those teams was amazing. And obviously I was a part of 2 Grey Cup champions. Single moments are like, I had my best game at home at McGill versus Calgary against Brandon Browner, who went on against to have incredible success. But, Ben Cahoon breaking the receptions record and being on the field with him to celebrate that moment is an incredible thing that I tell my kids about even to this day. And, there's so many. It's just, again, it's such a big part of my story. And without Montreal, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish what I was able to accomplish. So it just has a fondness, to me and my family that'll never be duplicated.
You have a good AC story? Is there anything funny that Calvillo ever did?
Absolutely. So I don't know if it's funny that Calvillo did. So when I got to camp, you talked about the show I was on. So I was on 4th and Long, which was a show on Spike TV that allowed all the players to try out for a chance at the league. I was the runner-up. So because I didn't win the show, I came up here to Montreal. They gave me a contract at the time, and so I was late to camp. I was like 3-4 weeks late to camp or like whatever. They were like getting into the season. So I come up here, and obviously there's a target on my back. All the DBs are like, I can't wait to like show you up in practice. So I'm already feeling out of place, man, and nobody's really talking to me. And then there was this guy that opens the door and holds it for me. And he says, hey, welcome up. What's your name? I'm like, Andrew Hawkins. He's like, what's your name? Anthony. And I'm thinking, this coach is really nice. Whoever this old skinny coach is, he went out of his way to introduce himself. And I'm like, thank you. I'm going into my first offensive meeting. And then Trestman gets up talking. And I'm like, oh, this quarterback is slinging it. And then he asked a question, and he asked the quarterback, hey, what are you supposed to do here? And then that same old-ass coach answers the question. And I'm like, he's not talking to you. He's talking to the quarterback. And that's how I figured out that old-ass guy who's skinny, and I'm like, there's no way this is the gunslinger that I've been watching on film, is the same person we got to the practice field, and the rest is history, man. That's
awesome.
my AC story.
That's a great story. Just want to finish with this. Obviously, you've done really well with the media stuff. I've caught you on ESPN and all that. Just when did you get that itch, and how tough has that been to develop? Like, is that tougher to develop than the football side? How's that worked out for you? Because it seemed like the transition was pretty smooth.
Yeah, I think it was smooth because I had done so much. So to your point, like, when I start my career on a television show, I get bit by the entertainment and broadcast bug, and I think through that it really helped me learn how to speak about the game, and the way that the fan sees the game is always the important part of that. And so I think just throughout my career, just honing those skills as much as I could on the outside, that by the time I retired, I was able to jump right into it. And I think, like, again, it's, professionals learn their craft, and they learn it in a way where you have to be able to explain it. And I'm not even just saying this. Being around the veterans early in my career and Mark Trestman, who are football teachers, if you're ever around AC, yes, he's incredible talent, but his value proposition is the way that he knows the game and the way he talks about it. So learning all those intricate details at such a young age allowed me to play that position when I was in the NFL as like the mentor. And then when I transitioned to media, it's the same thing. You're just teaching people the nuances of the game of football. And so it kind of all works together like a beautiful puzzle.
Where are people going to be able to see you this football season?
Yep, I'll be on ESPN. You can check me out, NFL Live, Get Up, First Take, you name it, being an NFL analyst there. And, continuing to preach the gospel of the game we love.
Appreciate this, Hawk. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a funny Anthony Calvillo story. And it's funny, we didn't plan that at all. I just came up to him and said, "Hey, Hawk, can we do a quick interview?" He said yes. I asked him for a story. It's not even like he had a heads up. That's what impressed me most, is that he had a funny Anthony Calvillo story right off the top of his head. I think the other thing that I did want to mention is, and he mentioned it in the interview, is could you imagine you have Andrew Hawkins, S.J. Green, Chad Owens, and Brandon Whitaker all on practice roster? That's how good the Montreal Alouettes were with Ben Cahoon, with Jamel Richardson, with Kerry Watkins. It's probably one of the most underrated players in Alouettes history. Kerry Watkins was dominant. Brian Bratton was there as well. Eric Delorier was here. There was a lot of talented players here, and so you have these guys. And by the way, Chad Owens and S.J. Green are going to the Hall of Fame this fall. Andrew Hawkins, again, had a very good career in the NFL. Those guys could not get on the field because of the talent that the Alouettes had on the roster. It's crazy to me. And in the East Final, yes, I do remember Andrew Hawkins in 2009 broke his ankle at Olympic Stadium. And that's the only reason that S.J. Green got in the lineup for the Grey Cup in 2009, because there was an injury to Andrew Hawkins, who eventually made his way onto the active roster. So just those teams were stacked. It was a lot of fun, obviously, talking about the Trestman Pop era. That was really cool to hear from Andrew Hawkins, and nice to catch up with him. And hopefully we can see him in Montreal again real soon. Okay, I wanted to go through some news and notes here. I know that we talked about it. There's just a couple things I want to clarify in English. So I have a lot of questions about, 6-game injured list. What does it mean? What are the consequences? What are the rules? So I explained it in French. I'm going to make it clear in English as well. Just want to make sure everybody understands. So if you put a player like the Alouettes did on Wednesday morning with Fajardo and Julian Grant, if you put those guys on 6-game injured list, which the Alouettes did today, okay, it does not necessarily mean that they need to miss 6 games. That's the thing that you need to keep in mind. So if you put them on 6-game injured list and they miss 6 games, then you get cap relief. Their salary does not count towards the salary cap during that time, during that 6-game stretch. Okay. If, for example, let's just say Cody Fajardo misses, he's on the 6-game injured list. He only needs 3 games to get fully healthy. You can pull him off and he can play after missing 3 games. It's just that you won't have any cap savings from the first 3 games that he missed. So the only way you get cap savings is if they're placed on 6-game injured list and they missed 6 games. That's the only way you can do it. So that's where we are. That's exactly what happened with Wesley Sutton, for example, who's making his way back to the lineup. Wes Sutton was hurt in training camp. They put him on 6-game injured list at the beginning of the season. He missed 6 games. This is the 7th game of the season. He's back. So whatever his salary is, it did not count on the salary cap for the first 6 weeks of the season. So that just clarifies that. So I know people are saying, oh my gosh, Cody Fajardo might miss all 6. I don't know. But there's a chance that he could miss less than that. Anybody who goes on 6 games does not necessarily need to miss all 6 games. With Fajardo out, I think it's obvious that Caleb Evans is going to get the start. He's going to have to step up, play big in that role. Davis Alexander, who I'm really high on as well. I really feel strongly about both of these quarterbacks. I think both of these guys have a bright future in the CFL. Maybe we see him, maybe we don't. But it is Caleb Evans that is going to be the starter in this game, and we'll see what happens with that going forward. So we know that for Fajardo, it is going to be either Evans or Davis Alexander. One of those two guys is going to have to step up during this time. Last year, I remind you, Caleb Evans did a fantastic job in the 2 games that he played, ended up winning both, a home game against Saskatchewan, and led the Alouettes on a game-winning touchdown drive in Ottawa when they needed a touchdown with like 13 seconds left in the game, 13, 14 seconds left. He ran a touchdown in, but it was a full field drive, had a big connection, a big catch from Hergy Mayala. So Caleb Evans has done this before. If for whatever reason Davis Alexander has to get in there, I said this before last season. I thought that Fajardo, Evans, and Alexander are the most talented quarterback room in the league. I think that after the way the 2023 season went, where your backup quarterback comes in and wins both games that he plays in, I think I was proven right, even though there's a lot of people that disagreed with me at the time. But again, I think these are all guys. I mean, Fajardo is a proven starter, but I think these two other guys, they're young enough that they could develop into starters and impact players in the near future. So we'll see how that goes. For Julian Grant, I know that Shedler Furvius is going to get an opportunity. A young Canadian receiver is going to get an opportunity to play. It's a big time spot for him. I think Cole Speaker has stepped it up big time. I mean, we know Tyson Philpott has been one of the best receivers in the Canadian Football League this season. To me, where do you get the production? I'm really curious to see Charleston Rambo. I think Rambo took huge strides over the last couple of weeks. He's an explosive player, can get down the field, has good hands, can make catches, seems to have a nice little rapport with Fajardo and now Caleb Evans. I think that, a CFL rookie like that is only going to get more and more comfortable. And it kind of reminds me of what we saw with Tyler Snead last year. And even like a guy like Kebion Ento on defense. They're rookies to the CFL. It took them a few weeks to either get on the roster in Snead's case or to feel comfortable starting in Ento's case. And both guys ended up becoming really important parts of a Grey Cup winning team. So now I think, 6 weeks, you get a bye week. I really like Charleston Rambo. I like the upside there. So I think that there's a real serious opportunity with Julian Grant out week to week for Rambo, at least in this game, to make an impact and to be dominant. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a sprinkling of all of these guys, but that deep playability that Rambo gives you and that Philpott give you, I mean, they still got some speed there. Even though, they lost Austin Mack this offseason, they're without Julian Grant, like we said, and they're without Snead. This is still a talented receiving group. And then I think we saw it, in the Calgary game as well. Walter Fletcher can catch the ball out of the backfield. There's absolutely no doubt about that. The guy is freaking legit with his great hands. So, give me Walter Fletcher out of the backfield as well. Can line up in the slot, make some plays. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Walter Fletcher was very busy on the receiving side as well. So, I think with Fajardo, it's obvious who steps up, which two guys that has to be, or at least one of the two guys has to step up. But to me, I'm looking at Rambo. I really think that Rambo has a high ceiling, and I think that he's got an opportunity to really grab the bull by the horns. He's a talented guy, and I really feel like he's gonna get an opportunity to get more targets his way because he's been productive when he's had an opportunity to catch the football. All right, that's all the time we have for this week. Hope you enjoyed the pregame portion of this podcast. If ever you have comments, questions, you can find me on Twitter at Joey Alfieri. My direct messages are open. Feel free to write to me, tweet me, give me your opinion. I mean, I've been talking football all day. I've been debating the quarterback situation with the Alouettes with different fans all day. We don't all agree, but I will respect your opinion no matter what it is. Just because we don't agree, it doesn't make you wrong and me right all the time, even though I do think I'm right all the time. But yeah, I'm always happy to respectfully discuss Football, the Alouettes, the CFL. I'm good. I'm good with all that. So thank you, everybody. If you don't have your tickets for this game yet, visit goalsgo.com. Pick up your tickets. There's still some good tickets remaining. From what I'm told, it's beach day at the stadium. So I think what I've understood, there might be some truck backing in some sand into the stadium, but it's going to be a beach theme day at the stadium. Donc, journée plage au stade Percival Molson jeudi soir. Si vous n'avez pas vos billets, visitez le goalsgo.com pour trouver les meilleures places dans le stade. Merci tout le monde. Bon match et on se recroise la semaine prochaine.